Welcome to the Issue 6 Craft Knowledge video series. I'm Toby Boss, and today I'm going to talk about clock partners. When we talk about getting kids actively engaged, we can use flexible grouping. And one way to do this is through clock partners, but before I get into that part of it, I want to talk a little bit about this notion of engaging students. When we have students engaged, we know that they're more apt to learn, more apt to remember. And if you think about it, you remember things because you were engaged in some kind of learning activity. So the sit and get is what we're trying to get away from. And so this is my friend Lenny Vermoss shared this with me. On good days, we may have 70% of our students engaged. So it's hard to get them all engaged. But good teachers make sure that it's a different 70% that's engaged. And that at some point in time, we keep them all engaged and we keep them all part of what engaged in the activities we're doing. Okay? The other thing is this brain notion of changing states. And as you look at a class period, you have to have times where we have kids doing different activities that refocus their brain. So if you think about a class period, high school, you're thinking every 10 to 20 minutes, I better do some kind of state change. And for younger kids, every 5 to 10 minutes. Well, using some of these flexible grouping, using clock partners, is a way to get state changes involved. And again, Lenny provides this one. I think this is a good one. Why would you want to have your kids change states when you just got them seated, they're quiet, and they look like they're listening to you? Well, guess what? They're not engaged. Right? It might be good for you, they're not engaged. The brain needs a chance to refocus and start again. Oftentimes, when you use these state changes, you can get them up standing so that you're going to get more blood flow to the brain. You're going to find out that your kids are more alert if you go ahead and do some kind of state changes with them. So, processing time, we need to give them time to take the content that you've been working with them and get them to talk about it, get them to think about it. And these flexible grouping, and the one I'm going to show you, clock partners, is a way to go ahead and give them some processing time. So, how else can we use this? We've also talked to you a lot about this notion of the primacy-recency effect. The first 20 minutes of class, if you have a 40-minute section, is where you're going to have the first prime learning time. That's when the brain is most receptive. Then you have this downtime, and then at the end is your second prime time. So they're going to remember best what you do at the very beginning of class, second best what you do at the end. But there's this notion of this downtime. What I would suggest to you is if you can use some of these strategies to group your kids, you can fight through this. I call this the black hole. That's where you're saying our kids are on a downtime. Let's find some ways to really keep them engaged during that. So, clock partners. It's a simple cooperative learning activity. So what you do is you take the hands of a clock and you designate a time, and the students meet and share ideas on this topic. The way this works is it's really a base group. You start with the clock and you have kids make appointments. The nice thing about this, if you've ever had to put kids in groups, you know that you have to number them off. You have to find a way to get them around. This is a routine that you teach in your class. So you say make a noon appointment, make a 3 o'clock appointment, make a 6 o'clock appointment, make a 9 o'clock appointment. So the kids have those set up, and all you have to do is say, as they go around and make these appointments, they go ahead and meet with those, and you say get with your 3 o'clock partner. So the first way you set this up, is you give each kid a sheet that looks like this, and we have those on our Craft Knowledge website. And the kids go ahead and go around and make appointments. Now, an important thing, when the kid makes his 3 o'clock appointment, make sure that Joe writes down that he has an appointment with Bill. And make sure that Bill writes down Joe. I've done this before where they just wrote some names down and the kid didn't know they had an appointment because they didn't write both names down. So you go around, make as many as you want. You can do all of them, but I would suggest about 4. So when you come to a point in your activity where you want to put the kids in groups, you say, get with your 9 o'clock partner. They all should know that. They can get with their 9 o'clock partner. Then you can put them in that group for 3, 4, 5 minutes, have them do a think, pair, share, have them discuss some things, and then say, now move to your 3 o'clock partner. And you should have an orderly move where you don't have to number them off and reinvent the wheel every time you go through this. So clock partners is one way that you can get kids into flexible groups. You can move them around. That's clock partners. I'm Toby Boss. We encourage you to use this strategy to improve your practice.